If you are the go-to person on your team, the one everybody turns to when things get complex or high stakes, I want to challenge you right out of the gate. That's not a badge of honor. It's not the badge of honor you think it is. In fact, most technical leaders, it's the clearest signal that you've become the bottleneck. And it's usually the reason you're working 60 hours a week, reviewing everything, answering every question while your team is waiting, not because they can't act, but because the system has trained them not to. Let's talk about why this happens. Because it's not about ego in the way people usually think about ego. It's not arrogance, and it's definitely not control issues, not from the ones I've spoken to, and not from my own history. It is identity. Most of us come up in environments that rewarded precision, black and white thinking, right answers, proven methods, proven frameworks. And you were promoted because you knew things other people didn't. And you could apply that knowledge under pressure. That expertise became your value. So when you step into leadership, of course, you keep leading with that value. It's what worked for 20 years. It's what made you successful. And if you're honest, it still works in the short term. Problems get solved, mistakes get caught. Work meets the standard. But here's the cost most leaders don't see until they're already exhausted. When you're always the hero of the story, your team can only ever be sidekicks. Think about that for a moment. Every time you jump in with an answer, every time you just fix it, every time you do the final review because it's faster, you're sending a message, even if you don't mean to. And the message is, thinking stops here. So people comply. They follow instructions. They wait. They wait for instructions, not because they're incapable, but because initiative gets overridden. And this is where a lot of leaders get uncomfortable because they believe they're being servant leaders. They're staying late. They're serving their team. They're protecting the team. They're ensuring quality. But leadership isn't about rescuing people from learning. It's about creating conditions where learning and ownership can actually happen. When you lead primarily with your expertise, you're leading from what we call the technical trap. And the trap is subtle. You still look super competent. You look indispensable. From the outside, it may look like strong leadership, but on the inside, the system is breaking down. You're tired. Decisions pile up. Everything runs through you. And your team never quite steps up the way you hoped they would. So let's reframe this. Leadership today is not about what you know. Leadership, it's about what your team is capable of without you. Leadership is about what your team is capable of without you. This requires a vertical shift, not another tool, not a productivity system, not another model, not another how do I do this course, not another leadership book full of tactics. It's a shift in how you see your role. Most technical leaders are experts operating in a people system. And people systems don't behave like machines. They're infinitely complex, emotional, adaptive, full of gray zones. So when you apply expert logic to leadership, you get compliance instead of contribution. And contribution only happens when people feel trusted to think, decide, and own their outcomes. Let me give you a real example. I worked with the director of a biotech organization, exceptional scientist, widely respected, also completely overloaded. She reviewed every single lab report. Every decision had to pass her desk. And she told me, I don't trust the work unless I've seen it. And it's not just a trust problem, it's an identity problem. So we made a simple shift. The next time someone came to her with a problem, instead of solving it, she asked, if I were not available today, what would you do first? Walk me through your thinking. And I'm going to repeat this question for you because I really want you to maybe write it down, think about it. If I were not available today, what would you do first? Walk me through your thinking. At first, of course, there was silence, very awkward silence, because the team was conditioned to wait for answers. But then something happened. People started thinking out loud, explaining logic, owning decisions. And within weeks, she reclaimed hours of her time. More importantly, her team stopped orbiting and she started leading. That's the difference between being the hero and being the catalyst. And here is the hardest part. To lead this way, you have to become willing to be unnecessary in the short term so that you can be effective in the long term. Man, that packs a punch. You have to remember this. To lead as a catalyst rather than a bottleneck expert, you have to become willing to be unnecessary, not necessary, unnecessary in the short term so that you can be effective in the long term. And this is terrifying for high performance because your expertise has been your safety net, because leadership at altitude requires you to let go of being the smartest person in the room and start becoming the person who creates rooms where smart people can think. If you're feeling stretched and frustrated or quietly burnt out, it's not because you're failing. It is because you're trying to lead in a strategic system with an expert identity, and it doesn't scale. This is exactly the shift we work on in our Coach Approach program. It's designed for technical leaders who are ready to stop being the bottleneck and start building leadership capacity around them. Next week in February, on my birthday, actually, I'm working with a small group who are ready to make that vertical shift. And if this landed for you, if you recognized yourself somewhere in this, send me a DM with the word lead, and I'll send you the meeting invite. It's just a conversation to see whether you're ready to step up carrying everything, to stop carrying everything yourself, and to step up to leading at a different altitude. Because the question's not whether you're an expert. We know you are. The question is whether you're ready to be that leader, the co-creator, the person who creates rooms where smart people can do the work. I'll see you next time.